Hi besties, voiceover Charlie here. I just wanted to connect with you guys for a second and talk a little bit about mental health and the fact that I've been really struggling lately, which is why this video is so late. Some of you might have seen my community post, and I am so appreciative of all of the people who took time out of their day to comment and just to, give me words of encouragement. I really appreciate that. Anyway, because I've been struggling, I thought that it would be really helpful for me to change something about my environment, and I have been really wanting to do like an office makeover. As you guys know, I just moved into this apartment and I have had a lot of life changes happen in the last year. It was just time for a change. It was time for a little upgrade, if you will. So I got a new computer monitor and some desk accessories and a couple of house plants, and I rearranged my office, cleaned it. You guys should have seen the amount of hair that I swept up. Thank you, Roscoe, my dog, who is super furry. Anyways, I just gave it a quick tidy over. I got a couple of things from Best Buy and Target, and I decided to do a little upgrade to my desk. So now I have a second monitor and a laptop stand, and I brought out my old keyboard, which I really struggled to get connected. I am going to be buying a new keyboard at some point, but this will do for now. And I also got a little whiteboard and a whiteboard corkboard combo with some cute little succulent magnets and pens that I'm going to use to post up inspiration for my story, which brings me to today's video. Hi, hey, hello there, and welcome back. If you're new here, hi, my name is Charlie. I'm a writer, and today I am going to be creating some character mood boards for my two main characters, Kai and Alyssa. If you're new here, then you probably are wondering, Charlie, what are you writing? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're not. I am writing a new adult sci-fi book that I'm calling Project Daydream. It's got futuristic, dystopian, and enemies to lovers vibes, where people have lost the ability to sleep on their own because of a pandemic. And scientists have created some sort of treatment that is pretty sketchy, and it comes with some unattended side effects like jumping into each other's dreams. There's a murder, and my two main protagonists are trying to solve that murder. I've just been feeling a little disconnected in more ways than one, obviously. And so I am really excited to jump into this. I have been waiting for this video for probably the last 2 weeks, really. I've been just trying to figure out, do I have the time? Do I have the energy? And now I finally do. So without further ado, let's jump into making mood boards for my characters. Oh, and stick around because at the very end of the video, I'm going to be doing just a little Q&A. I asked you guys to ask me some questions on my community tab, and in my last vlog, some of you did. And so I'm going to be answering those questions today. Editing Charlie here. I was watching all of the clips back that I filmed the other day for this video and discovered that unfortunately I was so delirious and sleepy and just out of sorts that pretty much everything that I said just didn't make sense. And honestly, if I had taken the time to edit it, it probably would have taken me a month to string together all of my incoherent sentences to make it make sense. So I have decided to just do a little voiceover for this video to kind of explain to you guys my thought process behind making these mood boards. I just wanted it to be good, you guys. So I apologize for that. I think for the most part, it's going to be a voiceover video, and I hope you don't mind. Please stick around for the Q&A at the end of the video though, because I got a lot of really good questions and I am very interested in hearing your thoughts on my answers. So first of all, one thing that I really needed to do for this video was find something that resembled Kai. Unfortunately, there's not a huge representation of biracial people in character art on Pinterest. None that I could find, at least. It was really difficult to find something that matched both the hair texture and skin color that my characters have. For those of you who don't know, both of my characters are biracial. The reason for that will be answered at the end of the video. I did try to create him on Artbreeder, And for those of you who don't know what Artbreeder is, it's basically this website where you can go and select a photo, like a pre-made photo, and create a character from that using toggles, I guess is the best way I could describe that. Anyways, I did try to create him, and this is what I made on Artbreeder. However, this looks absolutely nothing like Kai. And if I'm being real honest, I think a lot of the photos that you see on Artbreeder kind of all look the same. And while that could be useful for some people, for the purposes of my story, it just doesn't work. So I decided that I am going to use an AI modified photo for Kai. This is the photo that I found for Kai. My thoughts and feelings around AI art are pretty complicated, and in my opinion, you really can't even call it art. I don't want to support that in any sense, especially when it comes to art. And if you aren't aware of the whole situation regarding AI stealing the work of published authors, then I highly recommend you take a second out of your day to look that up. But it's awful, and I just don't want to support that as much as possible. However, for the purposes of this mood board and to make it as close as possible, I am going to go ahead and use this photo. Kai's physical characteristics are brown skin, he's got green eyes, he has curly, shaggy hair. Kai's hair is curlier than this photo, but this facial structure is pretty close to what he looks like, or what I'm imagining him to look like. Because this book is being set in two different worlds, I want Kai's physical characterization to be represented, but I also want his mental state to be represented. So I am looking for photos that sort of represent his internal state. And what I know about Kai is that he is sort of a loner. He a lot of the times feels sort of like he's the only person in the world. He doesn't really have a whole lot of friends, and he is really cautious about making new friendships. A couple of other things about Kai is that he really loves the city, but he also really likes nature. As far as favorites, Kai really likes music, and he really likes the rain, and so I want that to be represented as well. Another thing about Kai is his job is really unique. I'm not exactly sure what I'm calling this yet. What he does is he goes out into areas where I'm calling them restricted zones. He goes out into these areas and he searches for old technology, components, parts, anything that can be used in their modern day technology. Kai sort of gives me like 80s retro vibes. Carries this like beat up backpack with him pretty much everywhere he goes. So I also wanted to find some things that he would potentially wear when he's out and about walking around, just a sense of his personal style. Another thing that I really wanted to represent in this mood board was Kai's journey into the dream world. Basically, in my story, when he falls asleep, he's sort of like, it's almost like he's drifting through space, like down a black hole. And around the black hole, he can sort of see like picture frames, mirrors, doors, entryways into other people's dreams. That's what he sees. So I wanted to sort of show that in some way. This is something that's actually different for every character. So when we get to Alyssa's, you'll see how it's different. But now I am going to Canva and I am creating a new project on the whiteboard. The first thing that I do when I start a new mood board project is I just put all of the photos on, no particular order. And then once they're all on the whiteboard, I'll arrange them and kind of size them down to fit. And then I sort of start just to play around with where I want them to go. So I think I might have mentioned this before, but what I want to do is create this almost sort of like a transition from the real world into the dream world on this mood board, and have that being represented in a way that is sort of like a gradient effect. So from the left, I'm starting with everything that he does for work. I have a representation of what his apartment might look like there in the bottom left corner. And then I'm putting his physical characterization up there, sort of in the center. So I'm going to kind of like speed through this really quick so you can see what I'm doing. And I'll be back with you guys in a second. So now that I have the mood board sort of completed and everything, the next thing that I really like to do is I like to put a little bit of text on the mood board. Because this mood board is meant to represent Kai, what I'm going to do is find a font that sort of resembles his handwriting, and I'm going to take a little snippet of text that I've already written for this book and just put it here on the mood board to sort of represent what I want his internal voice to sound like. So now that I have the text on here, what I want to do is put a background or something to kind of let that text pop. So I like to find just like a paper background, make it a little translucent, and then add just like some tape or something to the background, just so that it looks a little less one-dimensional. And here we go. This is the finished product, you guys. I really like how it turned out. I feel like I represented Kai pretty well. It's got all of my little color schemes for my project. Okay, so now that I've done the voiceover for Kai, let's work on Alyssa's mood board. So before I jump into Alyssa's mood board, let's talk a little bit about who Alyssa is. What is she like? So Alyssa is a police officer. She's definitely more confrontational than Kai is. It's something that I relate to very well. She's definitely more on the outgoing side. She can come across as mean sometimes. Inside, she's really caring and sweet, and she cares a lot about her friends and her family. She really wants to see the good in people, but she struggles to do that sometimes. I think that's probably because of her job. Alyssa has this quirk where she plays with her jewelry whenever she gets nervous, or if she's thinking about something. She fiddles with her jewelry, she fidgets, and so that definitely needs to be represented here somewhere as well. And just like Kai's, I really wanted to find something that represented her in her job. I also really wanted to represent the fact that she does a lot of her work in the dream world. In this society, they use dreams to catch criminals. So they jump into dreams of suspects and they kind of dig into their subconscious to see if they have any sort of like information or if they can get information from them. It was a lot easier to find something that represented Alyssa's physical characteristics than it was for Kai's. Photograph that I found of Alyssa, it looks exactly like her. Almost exactly like her, I should say. Not 100%, but it's so close. And then as far as her internal world is concerned, Alyssa's internal world is a little bit more alive than Kai's. She is very cerebral in that she does a lot of thinking and a lot of analyzing because of her job, but she also kind of carries that over into her life. She has a lot of thoughts and she has a lot of feelings, and she internalizes those and expresses those outwardly in her life as well. So I kind of wanted to show that she's just got a lot going on in her head. Another thing about Alyssa is that she is an artist. She really likes to paint. Alyssa's dream world, like I said, is quite a bit different than Kai's. Basically, when Alyssa falls asleep, she sort of sees a path with doors kind of scattered throughout. So when she falls asleep, if she wants to jump into someone's dream, she sort of has to like walk down a path to find the door that she's looking for. Another thing that I really wanted to represent in Alyssa's mood board was her relationship with her sister. Now I am just sort of arranging these assets similar to what I did in Kai's mood board. I am just arranging these in a way that I feel like sort of covers up any awkward spots or just in an area that looks good. All right, so now that I've got the background for Alyssa's mood board completed, it's time to add the same text. All right, so this is the final product for Alyssa's mood board. What do you guys think about it in the comments? I feel like it's okay. I'm not really the greatest at making mood boards, but I always do my best. Hi guys, and welcome to the next day. So, last night, well, let's just say that I was a little delirious. I was running on very little sleep and I had no idea what I was talking about. I am at some point going to get those printed off. I'm not exactly sure when or how I'm going to do that because I do not have a printer. I'll probably have to go to the library or something to do that. Overall, I am feeling much better about getting back into my projects, and I've kind of started, like, over this weekend, started putting my life together in a few ways. It has been a very busy weekend, but I have managed to get a little bit of time to kind of clean up my apartment, which I've been neglecting, and, you know, just take care of myself a little bit better. You know, I started going back to the gym, and I'm eating way better than I was before, and the last thing that I need to do now is just finally get on a better sleep schedule, because I think that that really does have, like, a huge impact on my mood and how I am, like, feeling about doing things like writing and making videos. I do tend to get pretty demotivated when I'm tired, and all I want to do is, like, watch TV and play video games when I'm tired. And I mean, that's not helpful for pretty much anybody. It's okay to do those things every once in a while, in my opinion. I can't spend my whole life doing that anymore. I have to start taking care of myself better so that I can do these things that I want to do, because those things like sleep and taking care of my apartment and taking care of myself and making sure that I'm eating healthy and exercising and everything, it plays a huge role in how I view myself and also my level of expendable energy through the day, which, I mean, how am I supposed to write a book if I'm only getting 3 hours of sleep a night? It's just not possible. Now on to the Q&A portion of the video. All right, so HGF writes, or Hannah Grace Fletcher, if you guys don't know who she is, she asked me who and what are some of my influences when it comes to my writing style. And this is a very loaded question. Okay, so some of my writing influences are definitely Alex E. Haro, Naomi Novik. I get a lot of, like, influence from pretty much every author that I write, whether it's a good influence or it's influencing me to write the opposite. For example, some of you might hate me for this, but I'm not a huge fan of Sarah J. Maas's writing style. I like her books. I just don't like how she writes a lot of the things that she writes. Just some, like, different style when it comes to, like, punctuation and everything, because punctuation can be used as a way to get your message across. I don't like how she does that. I tend to gravitate more towards flowery prose in writing, but not, like, overbearing. I kind of find, like, a healthy medium. I think it's not too much, but it can be a little bit more on the flowery side. So I don't tend to take inspiration from writers whose writing style is more to the point, if that makes sense. I don't know that I necessarily have a specific author in mind, though, for, like, someone who really influences me. What I will say is that I do really like to write characters who have, like, a really strong internal voice. And I think that that comes from the fact that I myself have a really strong internal voice. There's constantly stuff going on up here, partially because I have ADHD and partially because I am a very analytical person, and I think through everything. Whether or not I think through everything before I do something, that's a totally different subject and question. But I do have a tendency to think a lot, and I overthink things and I analyze things, and that's just who I am. So I do take a lot of influence from that as well. Like all of my characters have like really strong internal voices that I try to get across on the page. They have a lot of like internal monologues going in their perspectives, and that's true across the board for like all of the books that I've tried to write in the past. If I'm writing a book, that character, you're gonna know what's going on in their head. All right, now the next 3 questions come from Falabu Fabel. I'm hoping that I didn't butcher that. What aspects of your life, culture, geography, identity, faith, etc. do you draw inspiration from in your writing? Great question. So some of you guys probably don't know this, but I am mixed. My mom is mixed and I am partially mixed, I guess. My dad is white. My mom is half white, half black. And so that plays a huge role in, I would say, about 80% of the stories that I write. I like to write characters who have a multicultural identity. So Alyssa and Kai are both mixed characters. I don't necessarily write a whole lot about their culture, but it does play a part. Like that's just not the main focus, if that makes sense. I hope that answers the question. Her next question was, what's your favorite or ideal writing vibes? Like, do you prefer coffee shops that are slightly busy, snuggled up at home during a rainstorm, outside on a sunny day? I really like to write outside, usually at a coffee shop, but like in their outdoor seating. Recently, I discovered writing at the park. Obviously, I didn't discover it, but I tried it for the first time and I really loved that. I do struggle in busy environments though. I tend to have a lot of squirrel moments where someone will make a noise, or if there's like someone who's talking really loud, I find it really distracting. Usually if I'm going to a busy coffee shop, I'll bring my headphones that kind of just like pop them in to kind of provide some sort of like sound cancellation. But I do like writing in coffee shops. My ideal writing spot though is right here at home with some mood lighting and some incense going, with my dog snuggled up at my feet. That's definitely by far my favorite writing vibe. And her last question, and the last question for this Q&A, is what sort of fun writer aesthetics do you like to do for your projects, like Pinterest boards, Spotify, fan casting? I'm not sure what that is, commissioning art, etc. So I haven't the budget to commission any art. However, that is definitely something that I will look into probably later down the line once I finish the draft and like maybe am working on draft 2 or 3. Obviously, as you saw, I do like to do mood boards for my stories. It's something that I just recently started getting into, but I have been doing like Pinterest boards for a really long time, and I am really bad at making playlists, but I do like to make them for my stories just to kind of give the overall mood and vibe and energy music. It's not necessarily something that's telling a story. It's just more like the vibe that I'm getting from the idea of the book, if that makes sense. Let me look up fan casting because I'm not really sure what that is. A fan casting. I feel silly now. That's when you like pick a celebrity to represent your character. I absolutely do that 100,000%. If I could pick someone to play Alyssa, my book were to be made into a movie, it would definitely be Zendaya. I don't know who would play Kai though. I'm still thinking about that one, but yes, I definitely do that 100%. I think that's probably the first thing that I do. Oh, also, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I like to pick a project font. So for my Project Daydream, the project font for this is Phosphate. So that's what every chapter opens up in Phosphate. Like you can see the chapter heading in Phosphate, if that makes sense. Anyways, that is the end of the QA, you guys. Thank you so much for everybody who took time to ask some questions. I really appreciate that. If you want to be included in the next QA, drop your questions below and I will save those for the next time I do a QA. That being said, I really appreciate you guys being patient with me and being like just chill about me not posting a video for a couple of weeks. I really, really appreciate it. I think that this is going to be the end of the video. I'm hoping that you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a frog emoji in the comments. I have been really loving me some frogs this week, so leave a frog emoji in the comments. Anyways, if you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe if you're new. I'd love to have you in the fam. As always, I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!